Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this live stream. Now in this chat, I'd like to talk about the quality and the capability, the qualifications, the credentials of Western politicians. I guess over the years, I've met quite a few and spoken to quite a few, ended up sitting next to quite a few in the first class cabin of aeroplanes jetting around the place, in the United States and Europe and elsewhere. So I've got quite a cross section of, and over a period of years. Now, as a younger guy, I was in awe of people who, due to my own lack of experience and the worship of what I thought was power at the time, I thought, well, gee, where's that guy's, really top drawer stuff. But in reality, I look back now and think, maybe not so much. And as my own experience and knowledge and capacity increased, then the relativity of how I perceived them, of course, changed as well. But there were some pretty smart folks that I met, whether they be advisors for prime ministers and presidents or the politicians themselves. So, but looking at the situation today, now if we look at, whenever you've got a body politic that's got AOC, unemployed barmaids or part-time employed barmaids, that's their sole experience in life, or people who have just been on the affirmative action bandwagon and who really should be working in a take-out chicken shop, but instead they've been not elected to, but sort of placed, is maybe a better word, in the US federal Congress, whether it be the Senate or the House of Representatives. And you look at the amount of people who are clearly, they should be Walmart greeters and that sort of thing. You look at the amount of people in the US Congress that are really of that standard, whether it's with the AOCs and the crowd that she runs with, and Ilhan Omar and all. You look at those people, but not just them. You look at the low quality people. Then you look at the people who are just aching to sell out the America and sell out the American voter and the American populace, Lindsey Graham and people like that. Then you look at the idiots that have been stuffed in now. Maisie Hirono, for goodness sakes. Maxine Waters, gee whiz. Maxine Waters probably isn't an idiot, actually. I think she's just gone over to the dark side and has become quite rich in the process. So if you look at the total situation of not simply the American Congress, by the way, we're looking at British Parliament, regional parliaments, state parliaments, federal parliaments, in Canada. I mean, look at Canada, for goodness sakes. The Justin Trudeau's first administration, there was a bunch of school kids there. I mean, it was a joke. Climate Barbie and all that sort of thing. I mean, you wouldn't employ these people to work on the reception desk somewhere, and here they are as legislators or alleged legislators in a federal parliament of a first world economy. So we can see the decline in quality over the years. So the more power the globalists have amassed, and the more they make the decisions, the more the quality of the politicians that purport to represent us in the West has declined, and it's quite a marked decline in my view. Now the decline comes in two ways. One is just too many childish punk morons that have been affirmative actioned into this and just waved through college and high school and given jobs or given sort of jobs in NGOs and that type of thing, not real jobs, but just agitated jobs, and then they get shoehorned into say the US Senate or the Australian Parliament, Canadian Parliament, British Parliament, wherever. So there's that going on, and also there's the diminishing of power to the globalists, which is happening at around the same time, probably at equal rate. But also there's a situation where many other politicians who may not be moronic or useless or childish or idiotic, but they're ever ready to sell out because they're under some sort of duress to do so, or they're being richly rewarded for doing so. And the rewards can be huge. As a politician I was looking at a while ago, where he had a $2 million house, and just incredibly, a Chinese investor came along who wanted to buy it for $6 million, way above the market rate. And then he bought another house for $8 million or something like that. That was, I think it was 8 or 9 million. And then miraculously, another Chinese investor came along to buy it for 16 million. Again, well above the market price. And so it's just through flipping real estate for incredible profits. This politician is now very, very well to do, and will never need to worry about money again. Can set up his children and with trusts and that sort of stuff. I'm not still sure how well his grandchildren are going to do, but hey, he's done okay in the here and now. And now what he's exactly done to do that, I don't know. Why would a cashed up investor pay 2 to 3, 4 times what a property is? 2 to 3, 4 times what a property is worth. There's a lot of money really goes on with Chinese corrupt money coming into the West, but beyond that, how he was able to line up those sort of investments is anybody's guess. But there you go. So there's a decline in the quality of politicians, and there's also a decline in any nationalistic sentiment or sense they might have. Now, this is in keeping with the overall decline in merit in Western societies. And this is happening in business. Businesses aren't even making an effort to hire the best person anymore. They're so fixated with hiring as many black lesbians as they can, be they experienced or not, or have any qualifications or not, that it's that merit is going, and with the merit generally there's disappearing occasions or not, that it's that merit is going, and with the merit generally there's disappearing. Of course, the merit that's applied to our politicians is also disappearing. There are other factors too, like a local member of parliament used to represent the local people. The local people in the district, the idea was originally, at least, they'd be born there, they'd live there all their lives, they'd know all the people would know them, and then they'd represent those people in the parliament, represent their views. People in the sort of parachuted in by the party machinery at head office, and the candidates are parachuted in, and provided there's a majority of, say, Democrat voters, for example, in a district, then they know whoever they put in there is going to win. Then there's been another thing with the multiculturalism, where if there's a lot of Hispanics in an area, or a lot of Muslims or Indians or Sikhs, or it doesn't matter, if there's a lot of in the area where they think that if they put up a candidate that's going to appeal to the nationalistic sentiments of the recent immigrant population, the political machinery and the globalist machinery, which is in background better organised than we really understand. They're identifying someone like, say, a Rashida Tlaib or an Ilhan, the most hopeless student ever. Let's make sure they get through high school, make sure they get through college. Let's give them a PhD. Let's make sure they end up as a student organiser. Let's make sure they're a published author. They create this artificial, I don't know, what would you call it, this sense that they're dealing with some really capable person, a person who's got a real image out there of achievement and so on, even though that's bullshit. There's no achievement. The whole thing's been orchestrated and fixed and rigged, and then they'll put that person up as a candidate in a local area where they can't lose, and then they'll end up in for example, in this instance, the US Congress. So if you really pick apart the background these people have come from, none of them would have made it out of the takeout chicken shop in the real world. So they're manufactured in every sense of the word, and then they swan around like they're knowledgeable and know what they're doing, and legislators. Now, I've sat next to, not them, but I've sat next to some politicians. I mean, one I can't see it myself, but he was closer to it than me, so maybe he's got a better idea. In another case, I was sitting next to, this was in a sort of a pretty upmarket coffee shop. I was sitting next to a federal politician who I'd seen on the news, and I guess, but as I got older, I came away thinking, wow, how did that person get into it? Why would you give them a ministry of and serious responsibility? You just wouldn't. In some cases, I don't know if you not who are making decisions or who legislate, but who can better communicate with the masses. So if you get somebody who talks like a takeout chicken shop sort of person, then they're going to have a much larger constituency to say, well, I'm just like you, and say someone who's very well educated, has a high IQ, and who really understands the issues, because then they would say, well, gee, you're not like me, because more people are going to get a community orders as they would see it of society. So there's that. But looking at, I also sat down and spoke a long time to a federal politician this was a few years ago now. But the guy was, again, I'd seen him on TV and so on. He sounded like he kind of knew what he was doing. He sounded almost impressive, actually. But really, you have to look past that. He's just had a lot of media training. He sounded almost impressive, actually. But really, you have to look past that. He's just had a lot of media training. He's been trained how to talk, the speeches are written, how he looks into the camera by intensive media training. The guy was a fucking idiot. And I sat next to him and spoke for a while, because first off, I thought maybe he's just pretending to be an idiot. He surely couldn't be that stupid. But he actually was. And so I'm talking to him about various issues, and he just trots out talking point after talking point after talking point. And it is clearly unable to deal with somebody questioning it, because I'd seen him on TV, particularly the left-wing stations, talking about we're in a pandemic of violence against women. That was one of the things that he loved, and he's a bit of a lefty there. But he was soft interviewed. He's always soft interviewed on that subject. Certainly when I saw him, at least, nobody would ask the questions. So, where do you get that information from? That person that you're quoting or citing there, they happen to be a radical lesbian activist. Why are you relying on that to claim it? That sort of stuff. But he was soft interviewed. He's always soft interviewed on that subject. How do you know that? Prove it. Where's the report? And that sort of thing. But this guy says, and he goes straight through to the keeper. And clearly it's part of the globalist sort of talking point, and to undermine the West and the West's confidence in itself, to have genders against each other and all that sort of thing. So I'm talking to him and I ask him, so, okay, you say that there's a pandemic of violence against women. Can you tell me what information you're relying on to put that forward? Is it just your opinion? Oh, no, everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. And I, well, okay, sure, everybody knows it, but maybe I don't. There are numerous studies. Well, quote one, any study will be fine. I'm not sure I really want to be talking to you. So straight away, if you're not agreeing with the guy, and even not challenging, but just asking for any sort of verification, he's already getting antsy. But the way he responds to it is someone who's cornered, not someone who really understands what he's talking about and has mastered it intellectually and can discuss it with you. He wasn't. He was a fucking lightweight. And I thought, how does he get into Parliament? Why would anybody want to put him up as a candidate? Why would people vote for him? I get why some people would vote for him, because and just on quick sound bites and the talking point bullshit he comes out with, that would satisfy some of the people, quick town hall sort of speech, quick sound grabs on television. I get all that, but no idea. And so I was quite disappointed someone like that, or people like that, are making it, sits down with him to talk to him. He's got no idea, and so I was quite disappointed someone like that, or people like that, are making it into, in this case, Australia. He's got no idea, and so I was quite disappointed someone like that, or people like that, are making it into, in this case, Australia, making it into federal parliament. The guy should be working as I don't know, maybe a lower level accountant or something like that, or an accounts clerk, he's definitely not leadership or intellectual heavyweight material there, not by a long shot. So at other times I've gone into say regional parliaments and had lunch in there a few times with people. Some of them have been politicians or advisors to politicians, and I'd be staggered at the sort of things I've seen. So in politicians or advisors to politicians, and I'd be staggered at the sort of things I've seen. So in for example, the dining room of a regional parliament. I end up talking to having lunch with one politician, and in the table next to me is the state governor, or premier as they're called in Australia, and he's holding a meeting with the Lesbian High School Principals Association of the state. That's what he's doing, and you can overhear it given how close the tables are, and so these angry lesbian school teachers, or school principals in this case. I'm not sure it's high school or primary school. I think primary from what was being said, but I'm not sure. And they would, oh, we have to train boys to be subservient to girls. I mean, some of the things that were going on, they were saying, and this governor of the premier is as if they were to undermine Western society and to reduce the parliaments to nothing more than bullshit rubber stamps for the globalist program or agenda, the parliaments to nothing more than bullshit rubber stamps for the globalist program or agenda, then you can sort of understand why they'd be going along with this rubbish. So these are some of the things and some of the experience. I could go on there and more, but these are some of the things, the experience that I've had. One time I was sitting down chatting to a guy who in a couple of years' time was to reach very high political office, and I thought he had quite a sneering. He was actually quite bright, this guy, but he had a sneering manner and very condescending manner, and made some very condescending remarks as well. But and thought he was hot shit. Now he is bright, but certainly not a man of the people in his case. But he was very much part of that project. He firmly believed that the masses really had no right to vote. There should be maybe a handful of people should run things as a technical, run the country as a sort of a technical matter, rather than doing no politician needs to represent the people. The people are just hoi polloi, unwashed. The great masses, they're not worth pissing on. But how wrong could I? And made sure he was globalist project, and this guy actually was quite bright, but in a strictly sort of intellectual sense, he was almost devoid of all human warmth. And this project, well, who cares? So, but generally, I found that the quality of politicians has been declining. Certainly, the ones I've met, with a couple of exceptions. There was one that I had a few chats with, and he seemed to understand the issues, but equally seemed to understand that if he didn't go along with the flow of the globalist project flow, that he would simply be thrown overboard and he would get nothing out of it. So I think he went along with it just because it was easier to do that rather than to kick up a fuss. He made a few speeches that seemed to suggest that it may not achieve what it set out to, and there may be more collateral damage than had been imagined as it's pushed through. But he didn't really kick up much of a fuss over it. In the end, he went along with the globalist project. But the sign that any society is falling to pieces, and looking at the top, the legislative body, which has really gone almost now, it's the globalists are running things, is the sort of people they're putting in there. And the people that they're putting into Western lower and lower quality, to the point where you'd be lucky to reach an IQ of 100 overall. And it's a sad thing. We should have the best and the brightest people working in our parliaments on our behalf, representing the people, doing the very best they can to improve our lives, improve our standard of living, and so on. And we just don't have that. And that's a great tragedy. You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.